Wonderful. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me at the back. You can, yeah? Good. Generally people say I'm a loud person. Just want to make sure I am. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here today. The panel that we have to discuss the topic, as you know, is the mid-market hotel segment in Dubai, by and large overall the GCC, where we're going to focus our efforts on Dubai through this discussion. As most of you are probably aware, it's been a great story for Dubai as far as the hospitality sector is concerned. Tourism numbers have been growing exponentially over the past few years. Hotel occupancies have been wonderful. And as we move towards the Expo 2020, and with the events of Dubai Parks and Resorts and the push towards entertainment, there's going to be, going forward, a huge demand for mid-market hotels in Dubai to cater to the budget-conscious, if I may say, the traveler. There's also been a shift in terms of the dynamics on the source markets where people are coming to Dubai from. There's a greater push from Asia, what used to early on be from Europe. And given all these factors and certain challenges that the market faces in terms of development and operations, I think it's a good idea that we're having this opportunity to actually discuss this very critical issue. Our distinguished panel today, we have to my right is Milind Samant. Milind is the Research Director for Travel and Tourism for PMS Global, so he will bring a very good perspective to demand for mid-market hotels, coming from the new source markets. To Milind's right, we have Mark Alaf. Mark is the Cluster General Manager for the mid-segment hotels for Hilton Worldwide. And to his right, we have Chris Newman. Chris is the Corporate Director of Operations for Emaar Hospitality. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So let's start this discussion by first trying to understand what do we mean by mid-market hotels. As you're aware, each country, different locations tend to have their own sort of classification for hotels. What I want to start this discussion with, and I'm going to let Chris lead this, is to first tell us what are the key characteristics for a modern mid-market hotel. Chris.
I think really before it comes out, I think I'll talk a little bit more about the landscape that we're talking in mid-market and what is driving this at the moment. I think if you look at the government's initiative for and vision for Dubai 2020, coupled with Expo 2020, clearly with literally trying to double the number of visitors coming into the country and into Dubai as well, we've got to look at a significant increase in the supply on the market, and compared to perhaps the European markets or more mature markets as we have, in Dubai it's a little bit disproportional in terms of the number of mid-scale hotels versus the luxury segment. So I think it's really about initially looking at stabilizing the number of luxury hotels versus mid-scale hotels, which is obviously where the volume growth is going to come. It's not going to come at the luxury end of the market. So I mean that's the first what I would say. That's what I would say about that. I think in terms of certainly what we're looking at as a company with, for example, the launch of Road Hotels, is trying to look at a brand that is contemporary. It's mid-scale, but it's also fuss-free. I don't like to use the word too much millenniums and such, because it's more about that generation that wants connectivity, it wants technology, but also wants to be in control of the experience and their stay, and is looking for obviously something more at a budget price.
Right. Wonderful. While we're on the subject of the Robe, I just want to ask you, when you look at this sort of being a homegrown Middle Eastern brand, and if you look at the requirements, the demands of the Middle Eastern traveler in the budget segment, is there any specific characteristic about this hotel that has been tweaked to really cater to this demand?
Obviously, we try as a company as much as possible to put innovation and creativity at the heart of what we do. And so I think, it's not every day you have this opportunity to launch a brand. So Clearly, there are elements of what we would like to think is differentiation in the offering. I think particularly when we look at it as a Dubai homegrown brand, clearly we want to push and play on the DNA of that brand, be it from the art point of view, be it from the food, from the culture, and there's some of the sensitivities that are there.
Chris, while we're on that subject, I find that the typical cookie cutter, if I may use the term, type of mid-market hotel tends to have very limited food and beverage offering. Is the Rove going to have more extensive food and beverage offering for guests?
It won't have a traditional food and beverage offering. It'll have an offering that is much more partnership based. We look at leasing elements of our spaces to how shall I say, to partners that we believe will add value to that guest experience. As we're just about to launch, I'd rather sort of have that shown, I think, and demonstrated in the actual brand itself. But I'd like to think it's not a question of more being a bigger offering. I think it would probably be a more personalised, tailor offering to what we believe is the client that we're trying to pull in at that market.
Excellent, very nice. Mark, you had extensive experience in the region, with Middle Eastern guests coming from different source markets over time. Could you tell us something about what your experiences have been in terms of requirements of these customers, and how has Hilton worked towards satisfying these requirements?
Absolutely, thanks, Vikram. To Chris's point, I'd like also to highlight that we currently operate in a market that has been dominated for many years by the luxury and full service brands, and we all know that. We believe there's such a huge opportunity right now for us at Hilton Worldwide to bring our award-winning brand, the Hilton Garden Inn, to Dubai and to the Middle East. Currently, the Hilton Garden, we just opened 3 hotels in the last few months. We've opened, and it was a great thing that we've opened October, November, December, 3 hotels back to back. So with our first opening, the Hilton Garden in Murakabat in the heart of Dera, which was opened on October 22nd, we've had a great and successful opening as well 2.5 weeks later in Almina, on Almina Road, Hilton Garden in Dubai Almina, another great property close to Port Rashid in downtown Dubai. And then just 2 or 3 weeks after, we've opened the Hilton Garden in Mall of Emirates in Al Barsha area. The story is very simple. There's such a huge gap and demand currently in this market for the mid-segment, a quality branded mid-segment, and certainly Hilton reacted swiftly to the call of Dubai by the plan to expand on the mid-market segments in the UAE, and eventually I believe this will drag to the entire Middle East. We see that. So we've got an impressive footprint of several hotels in the pipeline as well to introduce more of mid-segment properties and brands as well. We're introducing the Hampton by Hilton hopefully in the next few months. Another great prime economy brand we have currently operates in the US and other parts of Europe. And Hampton reflects, it's the largest brand we have currently in the mid-segment under the Hilton umbrella of hotels, with 2,100 hotels plus. Hilton Garden Inn, we have globally roughly around 660 properties in the world, and more coming hopefully in the Middle East between Hilton Garden Inn and Hampton. So we've tailor-made our offering to our guests. We realize life in the Middle East is a bit different than the US and Europe and other parts of the world. That's why we've tailor-made our F&B offerings a bit. In the USA, for example, our room service is only offered at the evening time from 5 to 10 p.m. In the Middle East, we're offering the 24 hours room service. Our F&B, we have chosen carefully our dishes and our offerings to meet the satisfaction and to meet the taste of the local clientele, including as well the international who comes across for many hours just to have great stay and great hotel accommodation in Dubai as well.
Wonderful, that's really nice. Coming to you, Milind, you do a lot of research work. Have you looked at consumer trends particularly from source markets that come into the Middle East in terms of their, if I may say, mid-market requirements as such?
I would just, first of all, it's great to see that, here we have the hospitality voice with Chris and Mark. And I'm very happy to bring the traveler voice onto the stage. This is precisely what we were trying to understand when we did a 12-country global study on traveler behaviors and attitude. What we see is there is slightly a different perspective. I mean, when we look at it from, say, for example, we have mid-market hotels, and outside to the travelers, but it's actually the outside-in perspective. So what we found out was that there are different hierarchies of travelers. Right at the top, roughly about 5% of the global traveler segment, which is luxury travelers. Then we found out that there are roughly about 39%, which is the second layer in a three-dimensional way. That's the mid-market, and then the rest, which is economy. But what we found out was that there are two interesting sub-segments which are there in mid-market, which are having different traits. The top end of the mid-market, which we call as affordable luxury traveler, which is roughly about 15% of the global traveler market. And then we have premium economy, which is another balance, 10-15% or so. So what we see is that the travelers are the mid-market travelers, and they are looking at tourism offer, whether it is hotels, airlines, destinations, at different layers, and that's what makes it interesting. It's from the traveler's perspective, how they are looking at what they're seeking for, and that's where the great opportunity for mid-market hotels also comes into picture.
I think it's also quite interesting that it's really responding to what's happening in some of the markets. I mean, if you look at particularly some of the Asian markets, if you look at this growing middle class, and then you're also looking at a younger profile of traveller, I think these two combinations, and I think I'd add a third one, is that there's definitely a shorter length of stay coming in. So I think when we add those three components together, I think clearly somewhere like Dubai, which I think maybe historically was a sort of an aspirational destination from a luxury point of view, is now becoming more affordable thanks to the likes of the international brands like Hilton and ourselves, as well as coming in with something maybe homegrown, is creating that supply for that increasing demand.
Sure. I'd like to highlight in this point as well. I think there's a lot could be done going forward, and then I know we'll touch on this space later on. We've been doing a lot of traveling recently. We've been in different source markets in the Middle East. We've been in China, Japan as well, and it was a great journey for me personally to understand what's the market looks like in Dubai from their eyes over there. And we've discovered a lot needs to be done still and able to tell the entire world that Dubai is changing, and Dubai is no longer only being perceived as a luxurious destination to a certain level or a certain segment. Indeed, there's great opportunities right now, and increasing demand to shift new segment demographic from different destinations and bring it to Dubai. But we need to talk to people about this. We need to tell them we've got what they're looking for, and at great affordability, at more affordability opportunities right now for everybody.
While we're on the subject of demand and sort of changing, customer profiles and demographics, can you tell us something, from your research about where this demand is coming from, what the shift is happening, what is the growth patterns being like? Any data information on that?
Sure. One of the key things that we found out which was very counterintuitive. Typically we always have this lens of source markets, and yes, we did find out that especially in the economy, which is the bottom end of the pyramid, there you could see that South Asian source markets a lot of, especially with what's happening with the currency, so Russia and Western Europe source markets, we saw a lot of, travelers falling into that. But there was something completely different happening at the higher end of the hierarchy, whereby what we found out was the travelers actually vary less by their country of residences, but their mindsets, who they are traveling with, what's their occupational profile. So it was less about the country of origin and more about their mindset, because we found out that whether it was China or US or a lot of Middle Eastern travelers who have penchant for luxury, and there was commonality amongst them. Similarly, affordable luxury segment also had similar commonalities in each of the source market. So it was more from the perspective of their mindset, how sensitive or not so sensitive they are with respect to their travel wallet.
Mark, I suppose you would be, talking a lot with travel agents, inbound travel agencies bringing in sort of mid-market customers. Could you tell us, some feedback that you would have received from them in terms of market dynamics? Also, these agencies, have the advantage of being able to compare Dubai as a destination from a pricing point versus multiple other options that a traveler has today. What is the feedback that you receive from these people about Dubai vis-a-vis, other destinations?
Absolutely. I'd like to talk about, and my situation is different than Chris probably because we've been operating for a good 6 months right now at the Hilton Garden Inn. We've witnessed increasing demand from markets like China, for example, who's extremely important, for us to drive business to the Emirates of Dubai. We've seen as well big opportunities from India, who remains the number one on the GOP for Dubai, and it has been for quite some time. However, I would like to highlight as well, through our relationship with our DMCs and travel trade partners, we have seen absolutely an amazing opportunity to drive business from the Middle East. There's great source markets in the Middle East that previously, as Hilton Worldwide, we could not attract because of the lack of rate affordability, for example. And now with the introduction of the mid-segment brands, similarly to Hilton Garden Inn, for example, we have an opportunity to work with these DMCs and travel trade partners to promote Dubai from an affordability standpoint and drive business without necessarily going into the already existing business with our full service and luxury brands. We do believe that we have an opportunity to drive a different demand, generate different demand from different source markets. One of the areas, and I know you and I, we've discussed this in the past, is there's absolutely great opportunities to partner with these travel partners and partner with the airline companies. We've got great opportunities to tie up with the low fare carriers that promotes Dubai as well through their networks. You've got Fly Dubai, you've got Air Arabia that goes and flies into certain source markets where mid-scale families, startup families, the Generation Y millennials probably would jump on any of their flights and take that flight to any exotic destination where they can find great escape at affordable rates and costs as well.
Wonderful.
If I could just add something, because I think it's got a very good point there when we talk about the airline thing. And in this market, perhaps it's something that maybe historically hasn't been the case, is that we look at a number of factors coming together here, which is tying of the hotels, better partnerships with airlines, better partnerships with new and up-and-coming attractions, theme parks, and destination management companies. I think are going to play a much stronger role going forward in this particular market to package everything up to make it much more attractive. I mean, obviously, like you rightly said, we're sort of starting out in this field, which is obviously very exciting, and obviously looking very closely at what seasoned players are doing in the market here, and seeing how we can also learn from that. So I believe that that's the direction that we're going to see more of in the future.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting point that you're talking about airlines. I think there's this trend that we see that even in the airline industry, the way the full service carriers and the low cost carriers convergence is happening. If you look at Fly Dubai, there are a lot of travelers who do prefer to fly business class and fly Dubai rather than paying exponentially high amount.
It's more economic.
Hence this interesting trend of travelers upgrading themselves and then trying to find the best how far their dollar can go, and hence the great opportunity for especially the affordable luxury segment.
Absolutely. I'd like also to highlight something very important that we've been talking a lot about, especially for the mid-market segments. And whenever we travel, and we talk about this, our travel trade partner, to your point, Vikram, we've got also one more thing that we're so proud about at Hilton Garden, and we've got a technology that attracts the millennials and the Generation Y and the young travelers who normally, like I said earlier, likes to escape and go to exotic places but still pay less. With Hilton Garden Inn, we've introduced the digital check-in, allowing our guests to book their accommodation, book their reservations on their gadgets, iPad, iPhone. You can do it on the iPad, on your tablet, anything you have in your hand. Make your reservations, select your room, select the room type, select the room number, check yourself even before you even get to the city you're going to. And they like it, they love this. The freedom within their hand to do whatever they want to do with it. Can you hear me? I think I'm fine. So it's something absolutely exciting to millennials as well, to drive their attention to our brand. And the most important point, the technology is absolutely at no cost to them.
That's actually very interesting. To see the use of technology, towards driving business towards the sector. Chris, coming to you, I just want to sort of pick your brain on, we're talking about the Expo 2020 coming up, and then of course, I made mention about this sort of conscious thrust towards entertainment. The theme parks that are coming up in Dubai Parks and Resorts. Now, that's more of mass tourism, and I think that ties in beautifully with low-cost travel that Willem was talking about. I wanted to ask you, given that there is, of course, a dire need now, there will be in the future once all these entertainment is up and running, and you need to have that support infrastructure in terms of good market hotels. How do you see the future panning out for mid-market hotels in Dubai?
I think clearly it's the direction. I think, if we look at the initiatives that the government are doing to support the development of the market, in terms of the issuing of, first of all, locations and plans for the 3 and the 4-star market. If we look also at the waiving, for example, of the municipality tax for over 4 years, if we look at that. In addition to the acceleration of the whole granting of permits, I think it's down to about something like 2 months, I think, to look to turn it around. So I think clearly the government are there not only with a vision, but also with the incentives to support that vision. So I think that's something really to bear in mind. That's the direction that we're going in. It's not just a question we have a vision, but we don't have a plan. There's a plan to attract the investor in there. And if we look at the overall business model from an investor's point of view, clearly it's a more cost-effective, it's a lower investment. Normally it requires a smaller profile of land. Normally construction costs are a lot less. It's a leaner cost structure model, higher profitability. And of course, with the markets fluctuating, it's less volatile. So I think as an overall business model, it makes sense. The incentives are there from a government point of view to get people to invest in that sector. The demand is definitely going to come from that.
Absolutely. To Chris's point, I just want to highlight some important facts as well. We've already know that Dubai already announced a plan to double the size of hotel accommodation by 2020. Today we have roughly about 940,000 room count in Dubai. And that's a mix of full service, focus service, or mid-segment as well. We're looking at, and we have the figures, so we know what to expect later on. So we're looking at 140,000 to roughly 160,000 increase in the key count as well. 50% of this is coming from the mid-segment market. So we've got a lot on our plate, but we sort of got the plan, and Dubai is absolutely committed in this plan. And having great brands who has the mid-market segments like Hilton World Wild and Hilton Garden, and we're absolutely very committed to partnership with Dubai and keep growing our focus service in Dubai and the UAE.
Wonderful. So, obviously, we've established that there is demand and there is a huge opportunity that can be capitalized on. I just wanted to touch upon the challenges for developing and operating mid-market hotels. Now, I know one of the things that's been talked about is high land prices. That sort of makes it quite unfeasible to develop mid-market hotels. The other thing is about barriers to entry, having low barriers to entry, and the fact that the market currently is very skewed towards luxury. Anything that happens up there tends to sort of have a knock-on effect to mid-market hotels. Anything below that, the chain. So, both of you do talk to developers. What are their key concerns with regards to developing mid-market hotels? Chris, I'll go with you first.
I think I'll be honest. I think one of the things that we're looking at clearly, and I'll be quite open about it. We started out in the top end of the market, and for us, this is the learning as we've developed new brands. And Road for us is a new venture. So I think one of the first things is looking at we need to make sure that business model and the cost per key is realistic. And clearly we look at the likes of them and how they're able to achieve those kind of construction costs. That's really important. It's no good constructing a hotel at a five-star construction cost and then selling it at a 3-star price. So I think first of all, the challenge is to get the right construction model and making sure it's a sustainable growth model going forward. So that would be number one. And I think you've already mentioned it, and I think it is this thing on getting the locations. The locations, they're getting more difficult. And on the one hand, I think it's more difficult to go in the luxury market now because of the locations are getting scarcer. So that's automatically falling down onto the mid-scale. But still, getting the right location, not to quote your friends from 1980, but location
Yes, absolutely.
is everything.
Absolutely.
What?
Very important point. You mentioned location. For me personally, and I believe this is something we've done this. We've been in the region for many years as a Hilton, and we will keep partnering with our trusted partners to also seek great location, not just any location, to operate and bring that return on investment that any of our owners are expected. We've been absolutely very fortunate to work with a great owning company. Wassel Groups is a big company in the real estate industry here in Dubai, and we've been fortunate to be part of Wassel as well. So we have a great opportunities to get some great locations from Wassel where we can operate our next pipeline. We had opportunities in the past as well through working with other owners to turn things away when we feel we don't have the best location so we can generate the best return on investment for our owners. So our development team, our operational team, along with our trusted partners and owners, we work very hard to ensure before we agree on any location that this location will bring that return on investment for our owners, to ensure that they're absolutely happy with the results at that.
And I think I agree to continue that one, because I think it's absolutely right. If you're going to come into the market, I think you need to have the right strategic partner. And I think just as Mark mentioned, similarly for us, we're working with Miraz, a Dubai-based holding company, as a joint venture for Road, specifically for this point, because it's a question of provide the location, we'll provide the expertise to sort of go forward. So I think that just talking about that sort of joint venture, that partnership strategy coming into you, it's really, really
it's important.
It's
absolutely,
really
it's a key factor actually to succeed in Dubai in this very dynamic market.
I would also like to highlight one dimension to what Chris and Mark are talking about. When we talk about how hefty are the travel wallet size of the travelers, the travel wallet of one luxury travelers is equal to 2 affordable luxury travelers, 4 premium economy travelers, and 10 economy travelers. So the point I'm making over here is that if you look at it, for the mid-market segment, and also for, say, for example, Dubai tourism, they automatically get volumes of visitors from affordable luxury and the premium economy sector. And I was also talking to some of the hotel brands, other hotel brands. They were also saying that actually they are not complaining because, as Chris, you rightly mentioned, that it's the ROI. So obviously for a 3-star or a 4-star hotels, the investment that is required will be far lesser than a 5-star hotel investment. And hence it makes an ROI sense to kind of cater to these volume of visitors which will come in and start coming in once the mid-market welcoming starts.
I just want to also put all that aside. The challenges, I believe, which relate to your question, Vikram, as well. Beyond the point that we have selected the location and everything else, there's absolutely a few steps earlier, and we will need to continue working on this when we keep talking about growing mid-market in Dubai. Keep educating our owners. What's the mid-market looks like, and what's the mid-market, what differentiates mid-market from the luxury and full service. To keep exciting our owners, to keep building and get more interested in building more mid-market segment hotels. Now, a lot of people, in my opinion, still confused about what's the mid-market, and you've asked earlier the question, so what's really the mid-market segment compared to the other segments? The key here is we're filling a gap, and that gap needs time to fill. You need to absolutely focus on delivering exceptional level of service, product qualities to guests, drive new business to the Emirates of Dubai. But if your owners and your investors don't believe in the market segment, this is a big issue. They absolutely need to understand that it's absolutely different from operating the luxury and full service as well.
But I think to that point as well is that, and you will know better than ourselves, but when you're going into these sort of management contracts and eventually the expansion into that direction, then it really is the owners becoming more impatient. So we talked a lot about the customers and the visitors coming in, but from a business perspective, a development perspective, they want to see the returns quicker.
Absolutely.
And I think that's another reason why the mid-scale option is quite an attractive option for a developer, for an owner. Because they're getting more hungry. They want their value for money now when they're signing
Absolutely.
up with the
And that makes me appreciate absolutely all the efforts that the government of Dubai is putting together to entice and engage owners and investors in believing absolutely this is the future for Dubai. This is absolutely the golden opportunity to really grow the tourism industry. This is the time to do it.
Wonderful. On a totally separate note, and I figure this might be a bit of a tricky question here. Do you, when you're chatting up with developers, do you find them complaining about, or having, rather not complaining, but rather having any issues with finding debt funding or equity funding, any sort of funding issues to develop mid-market hotels? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I've highlighted earlier that absolutely from my position, and I manage the portfolio of Wassel Hospitality and Wassel's group. I'm very fortunate to work with a very solid company who owns and has operated many other brands and hotels in Dubai previously. So on a personal note, I'm lucky to say we don't have this issue currently, and we will actually, all the directions I feel and get that we're absolutely growing further, and we're investing heavily to expand the mid-market segment in Dubai.
Excellent.
I mean, I think, from our point of view, I think it's a learning. It's a learning curve as we, hospitality group. We have a 3-pronged strategy here, locally, regionally, internationally, but we're moving sort of step by step, because I think the message is you need to be working with the right investor and with the right developer, and I think we're moving very cool. We have aggressive expansion plans, but at the same time very cautious with who we're working with and who we're developing with to make it a success.
So, very important point. I mean, while this is new to Dubai, the mid-market segment, we've done this. I mean, we've done this in the US from the 80s and the 90s. We've introduced Hilton Garden Inn from the mid-90s. And the reason why the mid-market segment was introduced in other parts of the world is exactly because of what's happening now globally and on a regional level. Enabled to keep people traveling and keep people excited about going and spending money, you need to diverse your offerings. You need to offer something different away from the luxury and the full service segments.
Great. I'm going to touch upon a little bit upon marketing or destination marketing. Now, a lot of people tend to believe, sometimes people say that it's really the government's responsibility. Personally, I believe it is the responsibility of all stakeholders in the private as well as the public sector to be able to market a destination to source markets or internationally. Given your experience in this market and particularly in the mid-market sector, how do you think the government as well as the private sector and the various stakeholders are involved in at least trying to make this a success going forward? How can they partner to market this product or mid-market hotels in Dubai internationally? Chris, I'll go with you first.
Well, I think what I would say, similar to Mark, I've been around the world and had the privilege of working in a number of countries, but I think Dubai is the envy of, in some ways, of the world in terms of the vision and the strategy that the government have from a tourism perspective. When I see the alignment and the efforts of DTCM, for example, in terms of bringing the stakeholders around the table, the airlines around the table, the ground handlers, destination management companies, the hotel operators, I think they do an incredible job. Just 2 days ago we sat in a room with them, they debriefed us on the strategy, what the market's doing. They're forever saying to us, please let us know, give us feedback, this is a plan that we have, let's make sure that we're aligned, that when we're putting investment, if we as DTCM are investing particularly in one market, that you as hoteliers know in advance where we're going so you can perhaps support those efforts. Honestly, I feel with a pretty comprehensive experience around the world, this is the envy of, I think, a lot of governments and countries in terms of that coordinated effort. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I would say is earlier that I think in this mid-market sector, we're going to see much more collaboration from the various entities in the tourism sector, so from the airlines, from the hotels, with the theme parks, with new attractions, even something like we only announced last week, the Dubai Opera, for example. Every time you add these attractions, you're diversifying the attractions of Dubai as a destination as opposed to a winter beach holiday resort, which is, to be honest, how it all started. So I think we're going to see that greater collaboration, greater consolidation, and as I mentioned earlier, I think the destination management companies will play a huge part in bringing this together for that market.
I'd like to add a very important point here. Dubai does not need any more publicity. It's a well-known destination globally. I've traveled to Europe, I've traveled to the US, and you will see Emirates Airlines everywhere. You will see Emirates Holidays everywhere, so people know Dubai. Recently, as Chris said earlier, also we've been extremely engaged with DTCM and aligning our efforts to do things together to see how can we really position our properties, how can we support on the creating the awareness for the mid-market segment in Dubai. Recently came back from a trip to Japan where I had an opportunity to meet with major DMCs in Tokyo and Osaka. And till today, you travel to this important market, to Japan, and you see in their publications the luxury brands. And certainly we have the Waldorf Astoria, we have the Conrad, and I was very happy to see our brands. But I did not see much about the mid-market segment. So I'll give you an example. The Japanese market, 2006, 2007, it was the highest. It was at the peak level. Japanese travel to Dubai like no other destination. Today, we're still looking at almost 75,000 travelers a year, which is not a lot, right? But when you go and talk to the average Japanese, why aren't you traveling to Dubai? They still have the perception it's too expensive for me. While I was 2005 and 2006 willing to spend money and travel to Dubai, to Paris, to Hong Kong, everywhere, Japan, like any other country right now, they've got an economy situation that they have to deal with, like other nations. And this affects travel habits and the budget at the end of the day. So when I asked DTCM when were you last in Japan, for example, it was 8 years ago. So absolutely, and that's what we're encouraging DTCM to do with us for today. We need DTCM to partner with us. We need DTCM to partner, to Chris's point as well, to partner with the airline as well. Air Arabia, Fly Dubai, Emirates Airlines as well, Etihad. There's a lot could be done if we work together at 3 entities and promote this great destination, Dubai, but now with a different perspective. You know, I don't want to go and talk about Dubai. I want to talk about the new offerings that Dubai now have for you and other source markets.
You know, based on your research, I suppose, you know, not just specific to hotels or mid-market hotels, you've probably seen a lot of partnering between the private sector and the government, the public sector, to try and promote destinations from a tourism and travel perspective. Any thoughts on certain best practices or what has worked in other destinations?
I think first I would like to compliment what both Chris and Mark were saying. I think almost in any category research that we do, one of the key barrier for those who have not visited Dubai or those who are not intending to visit Dubai, non-affordability comes out as one of the key barriers. I think, and that's where this whole direction is going. I think the way the travelers taste, they are kind of evolving. So you know, absolutely. You know what we found out is that travelers are actually not really looking at anymore to tick box. So Paris tick, USA tick. So the way to market is actually it's much more subtle level of marketing. You know, the kind of experiences that you can have in Dubai. And by the way, say for example, if it's especially towards the high end of the traveler, you can feed dolphins. You can have a high-rise tea in one of the best hotels in the world. And by the way, yeah, it's going to be in Dubai. So that's the way of marketing that we work with a lot of travelers. That's what I can see.
Thank you very much. Any last thoughts, you know, before I wrap this up? Anyone?
I want to commend, I still want to commend DTCM on all the efforts they really have been putting together. We're absolutely, all of us, I believe we're working towards one common goal, to support Dubai's vision for Expo 2020. But today, Dubai had achieved last year a record of transporting 14.2 million stopover guests or stopover passengers to Dubai, and this number expected to grow to 20 million by 2020. So we're all working together here and gearing towards opening more focused segment brands and more focused service properties, and make this a win-win situation for Dubai and for all of us operators, because we're partners at the end of the day.
Chris, last thoughts?
Yeah, I echo what Mark says as well in terms of, I think the vision, the strategy, the support that's there. But I think, you know, if you take a step back and you say, let's look at it in a 4-hour flight radius, we can touch about 3 billion people. That's a tremendous opportunity for this mid-scale market. I mean, what an opportunity. So, yeah, I think it's everything to play for.
Last thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, the vision, I think I have no doubt with respect to the fact that the way Dubai tourism is going about this. I think if you look at the international arrivals, about Dubai, around the international traveler is Paris, you have Bangkok, and then you have one more destination. I think I'm sure they must be worrying, because with the way Dubai is going to attract more number of travelers to Dubai, not only that the Vision 2020 seems to be on spot, but we won't be surprised if it actually surpasses many of the best destinations around the world.
Wonderful. And on that note, personally from my own experience, I've been in this region about 11 years now. Done a lot of development work for hospitality. Been actively involved with the hospitality sector in the market. I can say, over 11 years, this market, it never sort of fails to surprise you. And every time you think that, a new target is set in and this is not achievable, you just see that it goes well beyond it. And suddenly you have a new target and you're wondering again, no, this is not doable, but yet, it happens. I think the visionary leadership and the sustainability of the hospitality sector, investors, consultants, I think a lot of people in the region, in fact around the world, are quite bullish. If you were to sort of look at from an investor's perspective, we get to talk to a lot of them. If you look at it from a real estate perspective and the various asset classes that people talk about, there's one thing that people would be most comfortable, I would imagine, from a real estate investment perspective to invest in is the hospitality sector. I'd like to thank our panelists for being here today, for sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the audience for being here and listening to us. Have a good evening. Thank you.